Good afternoon. Today I'll be presenting my research on prison reform, rehabilitation versus punishment, and why the United States must shift towards a more humane, evidence-based correctional system. The debate over what prisons should accomplish punishment or rehabilitation has shaped the U.S. policy for decades. Political swings, public fear, and changing crime narratives have pushed our system back and forth between harsh punishment and reform. But one thing stays consistent: the consequences of incarceration are not just political. They affect families, communities, and long-term public safety. My project examines whether rehabilitation should be prioritized in the U.S. and using labeling theory and regenerative shaming theory as the main guiding frameworks. Why it matters. Prisons aren't just places where people are confined, they are social institutions that shape identities, relationships, and opportunities. A punitive system prioritizes control, security, and deterrence. A rehabilitation system focuses on changing behavior by addressing trauma, education, and mental health and reintegration. This leads to the central question: should prisons exist primarily to punish offenders or to reduce by helping people re-enter society successfully? Research says there is extensive research supporting rehabilitation. For example, Sutton, made in 2024, argues that harsh prison cultures increase psychological harm and undermine rehabilitation. Moreland and Ressler emphasize that the importance of trauma-informed care, nothing that most justice-involved individuals have experienced abuse, neglect, or trauma. Without trauma or addressing trauma, rehabilitation is very, very scarce. Their model shows what is possible when rehabilitation is treated as the core mission. Other researchers highlight the failures of surveillance-heavy, tough-on-crime approaches, Brine and Taxman, that does not change the underlying causes of criminal behavior. Together, this literature shows that punishment alone does not reduce crime. Rehabilitation rooted in education, trauma, care, and just care does. Now, theoretical framework. Two criminological theories help explain why rehabilitation works better than punishment. One, labeling theory. Labeling theory argues that people come across criminals and part of society which labels them that way. Every single stage of the justice process, arrest, conviction, public records, creates a stigma that follows people along after release. This labels limits access to jobs, housing, education, and social networks. The more society includes someone, the better they are at having a chance to return to regular society. For two, reintegrative shaming theory. This theory distinguishes between shame that stigmatizes and pushes people away from society, and condemning harmful actions but restoring the person's dignity at social ties. Just like restoration justice, community circles and victim-offender dialogue hold people accountable while also prioritizing rehabilitation. Together, these both show that public punishment isolates people, and instead of supporting it, also reduces it. Evidence-based rehabilitation practices. There are several proven strategies that align with these theories: education and vocational training, educational programs. They build skills, confidence, and job readiness. However, many U.S. prisons underfund these programs despite strong evidence of success. Trauma-informed care. Most incarcerated individuals have significant history of trauma. This helps them with cognitive behavioral therapy, motivational interviewing, and substance abuse treatments, programs that work best when treatment continues after release. Restorative justice models. Practices showing victims and offenders that they can work together with accountability and healing. But they also must be voluntarily and ethically run. International lessons. Countries like Norway demonstrate how humane conditions, respect, and programming can create a safer environment and reduce reoffending, while the U.S. does the opposite. Policy recommendations. Based on my research and theory, effective prison reform should include expanding correctional education and vocational rights, embedding trauma-informed care and mental health treatment to everyday correctional practice, scaling restorative systems and programs to encourage accountability without exclusion, reducing collateral consequences, training correctional staffs in humane and professional therapeutic ways that support rehabilitation. The bigger picture is punishment can temporarily control behavior, but it does not create long-term public safety. Rehabilitation does. People who receive education, therapy, job, training, social support during and after incarceration are less likely to reoffend, more likely to be employed, more capable of supporting their families, more connected to their communities. In contrast, stigmatizing approaches it maintains negative ideas that then create even more of a cycle of crime. More evidence to that overwhelmingly supports rehabilitation, not only as a moral choice, but as a practical one that improves public safety. In conclusion, both theory and research show that punishment not alone does not lead to safer communities. Labeling theory demonstrates how stigma deepens criminal identity, while the other theory shows how supportive and accountability promotes change. When combined with education, trauma-informed care, vocational training, and restorative justice, rehabilitation becomes a powerful tool for reducing and building stronger communities. Real prison reform requires structures that promote healing, dignity, and opportunity. By prioritizing this, the United States could move toward a more effective, humane, and just correctional system, one that restores lives and strengthens public safety for everyone. Thank you.